What's up, everyone? Hey, Instagram. Hey, YouTube. Hey, Facebook. My name is Rachel Leah Gerson, and I am the creatrix and metaphysical practitioner at Doorway to Self. Whew. I'm a few minutes late today, and as you can see, the environment looks a little different. Hey, thanks for coming on. I'm actually house sitting and dog sitting for my grandparents this week while they're out of town. So the dog is outside. He may need to come in at some point. So if I have to interrupt this to go do that, he gets priority, guys. He is a spoiled dog. So, yeah. So I wanted to come on and talk about this week's card, which comes from the Wild Wisdom of the Fairies deck by Lucy Cavendish and Selena Fenech. And it's called Solace, Return to Nature, Tree Wisdom, Natural Remedies, and Flower Essences. Susie says, he's mama's boy. Yeah, yeah, totally. I love this card. Every time I pull this card for myself, I'm like, oh, some relief. Okay, this is an affirmation that I need to slow down and chill out and really sink into myself and sink into the earth, and healing from that wisdom. I think the timing of this, as I mentioned, hey Jen, thanks for hopping on. I think the timing of this, as I mentioned, is in the write-up on Monday is spectacular in terms of what's going on with our planetary alignment right now. We have Mercury in retrograde, which is yet another thing that's basically saying, okay, time to slow down, chill out, don't try and cram a bunch of things in your day, like try and space them out, etc., because you have to kind of have the space in case something goes awry. There are bound to be more car accidents on the road. Hopefully you're not one of those people. To give you a demonstration, I drive an hour for class twice a week, and I have never had an issue at all with traffic, with accidents, with anything like that. And this, within the last week, since Mercury went retrograde, there have been 2 accidents on both days that I have been going to class, and I've been late. So, or like 2 minutes before class I've been there. So, yeah, budget in extra time for yourself. And what's crazy is that I did budget in extra time on those days. I gave myself an extra half hour to get to class, and thank goodness I did that, because I would have been really late if it weren't for that. Let's see. So this card really helps us to sink into that energy of like, go with the flow. Just worry about yourself. Don't worry about other people this week. And if you are worrying about other people, do it in a very conscious way that is you focused, where, you're using I-centered language. I am feeling XYZ when you do XYZ, not you're acting this way and it's making me feel blah, 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 blah. Like, this is very much like conscious communication. It is always time for conscious communication, but especially during the retrograde cycle, which started on the 22nd and ends, I believe, on the 7th of April. I may be wrong about that last date, but I'm just shooting it off the top of my head. Yeah, that's what's going on in terms of that. In terms of Jupiter retrograde, which started on March 8th, and we're just starting to feel like the effects of that takes a lot longer to go direct, and that doesn't go direct until the middle of the summer. But that one's very much about keeping conscious of your bank account. During Jupiter retrograde, people tend to, hey Ryan, thanks for hopping on. during Jupiter retrograde, people tend to have these emotional freak out moments where they're like, I need this. And so they go and blow a bunch of money. And then they look in their bank account and they're like, shouldn't have done that. So yeah, Jupiter retrograde is very much about like slowing down your roll in terms of spending. So again, you don't really need to spend money to be with yourself or to be in nature. I mean, yeah, of course, there are places you can pay to go on nature walks and whatever. And if that's what you want to do, then go for it. But, you know, there are plenty of places all over the world where you can just like go for free and connect with the trees and these new adorable little shoots of dandelions and tulips and such that are starting to spring up. And I really like the timing of this card for that reason as well, as like connecting back into nature. Like nature is just waking up right now out of winter. I mean, not that it's ever fully asleep, but you know, it's really coming to life. And so being there for that magic and taking this time to be with yourself and to be with nature while it's coming out of its winter hiatus, and really just being present for that, I think is so magical. And you know, we think of the word magic as something that's like extreme and something that's like you know, somebody would have to be like floating off the ground or something for it to be magic, but we don't tend to look around and say like, holy cow, like the ground was frozen 2 weeks ago and this little tiny thing has so much strength and power in it that it was able to survive in that frozen ground for months and then be able to sprout and break through that ground. Like, how much strength does it take for that little tiny thing to push through all of the heavy dirt or soil that is on top of it? And then to keep bursting forth, new leaves, new stem, and then all of a sudden the bulb opens, right? So it's like, that's magic. That's incredible. Hey Susan, thanks for joining. So yeah, that's the magic we need to be paying attention to more often. And that said, too, you know, this card mentions flower essences too, natural remedies and flower essences. I've been blown away. Speaking of natural remedies, I have been blown away and just so satisfied in going to the natural health store during 6 season and knowing that they are completely out of elderberry, and seeing all sorts of people, what looked like all sorts of socioeconomic statuses, all different races, all different creeds. Like, it was amazing to go in there like 3 or 4 weeks ago, whenever it was that I was sick, to go pick that stuff up and to see that this has reached the masses. This is no longer just rich white people, y'all. Like, people are actually, people of all types of people are actually getting access to the wisdom and the information needed to be able to use natural remedies for healing. And I've been seeing that in my office too. When I first started out, literally the only people I was seeing were like white women in their 30s, late 30s, which is great. I love working with that demographic, but it's been amazing to see so many other types of people, all different races and genders and sexes and sexualities, hop into my office, and hop into the offices around me too, seeing the naturopaths and the emotional release therapists and et cetera, et cetera. So that's been really, really awesome. And if you are a minority and you're watching this, I really want to I really want to say congratulations, honestly, that this is accessible to everyone now. It's amazing. So there is that. totally tangented there. Flower essences. So yeah. So I talked about like the strength and the incredible strength and power that it takes for a flower or a grass blade or whatever to come up out of the ground. It takes so much energy to do that. And because of that, and because flowers and plants and trees are all living things, fruits, seeds, flower, like whatever, they're all living things. It is possible to be able to harness and extract their energy. And so that's what a flower essence is. I get a lot of people who ask me that question because I use flowers in making the potions that I make. And they're like, oh, like they'll open the bottle and they'll be like, it doesn't smell like anything. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to smell like booze, essentially, because that's what I use to cap it off and seal it and make it stay good for 2.5 years or so after your purchase. Yeah, it's not supposed to smell like anything because it's the energetic property of the flowers or the fruits or the plants or the crystals or the tarot cards or whatever I'm using to make those potions up. It is the energy that's in them that's healing. So it's almost like, I know Reiki's really popular right now. It's almost like going to get Reiki from a flower. Like, I know that sounds crazy. I promise you I'm not a woo-woo kook. But yeah, so basically you're getting Reiki from the inside out from these plants or crystals or whatever. And you can find all of the potions that I've made readily available on doorwaytoself.com/shop if you're interested in that. They're super cheap. It's only like $10 a bottle. Hey Jan, thanks for hopping on. So yeah, so I wanted to talk about that for a little minute because, flowers and trees and plants and etc., they all have different vibrations. And so the way it works is really kind of like whatever healing you're needing at that point. For me personally, the plant will call to me and it'll be like, okay, this is what the collective needs right now. Like, this is what humanity as a whole needs right now. And it'll happen like the day that I make it. I won't know. I mean, sometimes I'll have dreams like the week before or whatever. For this next one that I'm making, that I'll be making tomorrow under the full blue moon, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I've actually been making it the entire month. So it started with, because I just this idea of this blue moon and these bookends and this starting and dipping under into the new moon and then coming back up. It really invigorated me, and especially the idea of the spring equinox being in the middle of that, and then this full moon being in Libra, which is all about balance. Spring equinox, all about balance, dark and night, day and light. So yeah, so basically I've been making this from the get-go. I took a sprig from a yew tree, and I soaked it in the moonlight of the full moon in Virgo at the beginning of the month, and I charged it on a huge slab of fluorite crystals, and that's just been sitting. It's been sitting, soaking up the whole energy of this month. Then again, on the new moon, I put out some rose hips, some dried rose hips, which was unusual, but that is what I was told to do. That they were like, these ones came to me in a dream. They were like, okay, like, you have to use us. And I was so confused because normally, like, something's dead, there's not going to be that much energy left in it. But what I understood is that it was this balance between life and death. So then you have that balance there. And if you look at kind of what's going on with this Libra full moon coming up tomorrow as well, there's very much that like life and death thing of like things growing and blooming, and also having to let other things go in order for those to be able to thrive in this space. A good example for you on that one is I really need to do some landscaping in my garden because I have this ivy that's growing in there, and it has been growing so rampantly the last few years that it actually started strangling some of the bushes that are down there. And I want to plant some pretty flowers, guys. I want to be able to plant my own flowers to use in future essences, and so and potions and whatever. And so so I need to let go of the ivy. I need to get rid of that ivy, what's no longer serving the yard, what's no longer serving the plants that are there and the plants that I want to put there, and then I'm able to grow new things. So I think that's the perfect example, and we will be doing something-ish along those lines. I can't really disclose what, because I want it to be really a sacred experience for people who are there, but we'll be doing something along those lines this evening at the Magic and the Moon workshop and ritual that I'm hosting, and I'm so excited about it. This is a big deal for me. Personally, in my personal journey, it is a big deal for me. I have not led ritual for other people since I was 19. That's pretty huge. As a lot of you know, I incurred a lot of psychic trauma, and I also was made to face myself and who I was, and that I really was not a great person at that point in my life. And what really drove me to do ritual then was very different than what drives me to do ritual now. And so I feel as though I have healed to a point where I'm able to host that for others now. And I'm a little nervous, but it's mainly like nervous excited. I'm really excited for tonight. It's people who have done rituals with me in the past have come out different people, completely transformed. And I really intend to hold the space for you to be able to do that this evening if you are in Grand Rapids or the surrounding areas and choose to join us. And also, like, if you don't want to stay for the ritual portion that's not up your alley, you're more than welcome to come for the workshop and leave. Like, I won't be offended at all. Believe me, I would have done the same thing 3 years ago. I would have been like, woman, I don't know you. I don't know where you've been. I don't know what your energy's like. And if you've been following me and working with me on these videos, or if you've been working with me in one-on-one, then you probably are more apt to be cool with me, but maybe you're not going to be cool with some of the people in the room and you don't know what their energies are going to be like. That said, we will definitely be delving into ritual ethics and what it means to put your energy into a community without taking everyone else's energy back home with you. Hi, thanks for coming on. So we'll definitely be delving into that, which I'm actually really excited for because it's something that I'm really passionate about and it's something that's never talked about. And so it's important. But yeah, so what was I talking about? I was talking about the potion that I'm making this month. So yes, so I was talking death and life. That's how we went on that tangent. Thanks for sticking with me. So started out the month with the U, which funnily enough represents death, but it was alive. And then on the new moon, I did the rose hips, which were dead, which is funny because they represent life. So there's like the ultimate balance quadrant right there. Duality quadrant. So that's cool too, because as you can see up here, if there's not too much of a glare, this card is number 2 in the deck, which I also talked about on Monday in the short write-up of this card. And 2 is very much about duality. Very much about balance, about dark and light and day and night, but it's also about everything in between. It's that gray area, right? It's that it's that okay, not everything is one thing or the other. Not everything is day or night. Some things are dusk or dawn. Not everything is black or white. Sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's brown, sometimes it's pink. Um, so so yeah, duality is really, it's about seeing both sides. It's also about being able to see in between and see kind of what's going on in those kind of like morsels that mesh up in the middle. Reading between the lines is huge with duality as well. That's very much what's going on with Libra too, with this Libra full moon. And also what was going on at the spring equinox as well. You know, equal parts day and night. So on the equinox, I blessed some purple tulips. I liked it because it's 2 lips. Get it? 2 lips. Guys, this is actually how magical properties are formed. Just saying. It's super simple. Really. I mean, some are more complicated, but it's only as complicated as you want it to be. Magic flows in the path of least resistance. Energy flows in the path of least resistance. And so it makes sense that the simpler things would be the ones that are the things. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like to a point where people will come into my office and they'll be like, so I was wondering if you could tell me about my past lives. And I'll be like, okay, well, what do you think about your past lives? And they're like, well, and I'll only ask that if I think they know. Sometimes I'll just like straight up read because I know it's more important for them to get the affirmation. But if I know that they straight up know, I'll be like, okay, so what do you think about your past lives? And they'll be like, oh, well, I think I was, it's a woman. I think I was a man, in a past life, and I think I was a farmer. And I'll be like, okay, well, what makes you think that? I don't know. It's just a feeling, I guess. Boom. Well, there you go. Why'd you need to ask me? Like, yeah, okay, you have a feeling it happened. It probably happened. And then we'll delve in and I'll do the reading and I'll look and I'll, whatever, and I'll tell them everything I'm getting and whatever. Then it's usually more detailed. There's a year, usually there's sometimes a place as to where it took place. Oftentimes there are multiple lifetimes that are similar, that are mirroring each other, so I'll flesh those out, et cetera, whatever. Again, tangent. Woohoo! Tangents! How's my dog? He's doing all right. It's sunny out. It's super cold out, but it's sunny, and he's just laying in the sun. He's like a little dog lizard. Okay, so anywho, yeah, so tulips so you on the last full moon, rose hips on the new moon, tulips on the equinox, and I am waiting to hear what is to be used tomorrow for the full moon in Libra. It hasn't completely yet come to me, but I have a feeling, I planted some sage, and I have a feeling it should be popping up around tomorrow. So I may just take a little snip and use that, but I'm not sure. I'm still waiting to hear. Let's see. Alex joined. Hey, Alex. What's up? And Ryan says, I love the concept of being close to nature. Egyptian Neteru or Neter equals higher. Concepts of gods, goddesses, divinity. Neter eventually transforms into the word nature. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That is really cool. I love etymology. I love language etymology. That is so awesome. And especially with the English language, because it's just such a hodgepodge of things. So where are we at? Yeah, so I'll be using all of those plants. I haven't put any of them in water yet. So I charged the yew on the fluorite. I charged the rose hips on petrified wood, which again is like that ultimate balance. Fluorite is very like shooting through your crown, through your third eye, very heady, heart-centered as well, a lot of people will say. And petrified wood is like the ultimate grounding, like calming, working with your roots, like really like getting into the ground. So there's that duality and balance as well. And then the tulips are growing in the earth, so they're charged there. And I don't know what I'm going to use tomorrow, but we'll see. And then obviously all of those will be soaked in the water, and in the spring water that I have ready to go. And then I'll probably be called to use certain crystals and stones and maybe some cards. I don't know. I might honestly be putting this guy in there. I'm not sure. We will see. So yeah, that's what's going on as far as the essence for all of this stuff, guys. This is great. This is going to be a crazy potion because it's like the last full moon, the new moon, the equinox, and this full moon. Like, that's crazy. It's going to be great. I'm really, really excited to make it. And it's obviously going to be all about inner balance is what I'm calling it. Susan says, how do you put a card into an essence? So yeah, that's a great question. So I actually, I always use a glass bowl when I'm making the essences. So I fill, I put the card under the bowl. I put the bowl on top. I fill it with, sometimes I fill it with the water first. Other times I fill it and then I put the stuff, the crystals and the plants in. Other times I put the crystals and the plants in first. Normally that's how I do it. And then I pour the water over top. And then also if it's raining, what I love to do is I'll set that bowl outside and I'll let the rainwater come into it, which is always spectacular. So yeah, that's how I do that. And then automatically, because the water is being charged by the moonlight or by just whatever energies are going on, it will extract some energy from the card as well under the bowl. So that's how I do that. Thanks for that question. That's a good one. All right, let's see. What else? So I want to talk about this return to nature piece right here. Return to nature is the first thing on this card. And I take that two ways. Two ways. I take that two ways. One, I take it as literally returning to nature, like the woods or the outside or whatever. And two is returning to the nature of the self. What is your essence? Like what is the essence of your energy? Who are you? What do you feel like? What do you smell like? What do you sound like? What do you taste like? Returning to that. And I think that's a lot of this solace. It's a lot of this taking this time out to just be, to just chill, to just be at one with yourself and your surroundings. I get when I pull this card, I get very much this feeling of like, right, like just this like almost like the world wrapping a blanket around you and just like hiding you away in your own comfy place for a little bit. So that's what's going on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to say about this card. This could not have come at a more appropriate time, I don't think. Does anybody have any questions? Just throwing that out there. Well, while I wait for your questions to come in, I will tell you about this event that's going on tonight. Magic in the Moon happening at the Wellness Collective in Easttown in Grand Rapids. And it's starting at 8 o'clock. It should go until around 10-ish. Because I haven't done a ritual in a long time, it may go longer. I'm not honestly positive. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna figure it out. I'm going to start out with like this workshop on the moon and the cycles of the moon, not just necessarily tomorrow night's full moon, but any full moon. We'll be talking about and any new moon and we'll be talking about all the phases of the moon, how they affect us. How they affect us emotionally, spiritually, what kind of magic we can be doing around them, or energy work, or whatever you want to call it. Some people are triggered by the word magic. It's whatever. It's up to you. Use your own language, whatever makes you comfortable. We'll also be talking about like strange moons, so eclipses, black moons, blue moons, stuff like that. We'll get into a little bit about what the signs mean. When does a full moon happen? When does a new moon happen? What does that mean as far as what signs they're in, which is fascinating. And then we'll also be talking about the physiological effects, because there are actually physiological effects of the new and full moon on people. People, not just women. No, this isn't just about your period cycle, your menstrual cycle. Men as well. Men actually have a hormonal cycle that parallels women's menstrual. I'm not going to get into it now because that's going to give the like a good 5 minutes of the workshop away. So yeah, it'll be super fun. We'll go into that, and then we'll be taking a little break in between, so that people can use the restroom, get something to drink, ground themselves out a little bit before, and like reconnect and recenter before we get into ritual. And I'll also be setting the space up as well. Hi, thanks for coming on. So yeah, we'll take a little break and then we'll hop into ritual. And I have some really cool things that I hope will be very moving and enlightening and meaningful for you. And I don't mean enlightening in the way of like, oh, you're so enlightened. I mean it in the way of like shaking you to your core, really. So yeah, and obviously during that break you'll have the option to opt out as well. So yeah, the event is donation powered, starts at 8 p.m. What does donation powered means? It means basically that it is what you believe it is. It is worth what you believe it is worth. So I will be sending around a basket to collect donations after the workshop, and then again after the ritual as well. And if you would prefer to donate beforehand, you can check out my Patreon page, which actually also goes to support all of these videos that I'm doing for free, and posts and articles and everything. So you can check that out. It's patreon.com/doorwaytoself. And what happens is you donate an amount monthly. So it can be $1, it can be $20, it can be $10, it can be $150. For each level that you're donating, I'm actually giving you a cool gift back, in addition to everything that you're getting for free. So yeah, that's what's up. You can check that out. You can also donate directly to PayPal, by PayPaling doorwaytoself@gmail.com. So if you're interested in doing either of those things, whether you are coming to this workshop / ritual tonight or not, it's so immensely appreciated. I can't even tell you how nice it is to actually like get paid for what I do, and to be able to feel that it's really worth it to you guys in that way. Yeah, just like super immense gratitude towards that. So whew, yeah. Trying to think of what else. I think that's it. And it doesn't look like anybody has any questions. Susan says, this is everything I'm feeling right now. Oh, thank you for that reflection. Yeah. Definitely. So when I pull these cards every week, I definitely do it for the whole collective. So there are some people who probably don't resonate with this, but that's because they're at some other frequency. This is for the general collective of humans. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, also the other thing too is I know that online workshops have been requested and I really want to do them. The last couple times that I have done online workshops, I've had attendance of like 150 people. I've put in hours of work to get them set up, and I've made about $10 from them. And so I'm feeling personally like I'm being a little bit taken advantage of in that area. And so so if you guys want to see more online workshops, what I will be doing from now on is I will be hosting them for my Patreon donors. And so if you want access to those, you can hop on there. Also, I do online workshops in the Fuel Tank twice a week or twice a month as well. So you can always sign up there and get you can always get what's it called, a subscription there. But if you don't want to do that and you'd rather support me personally, because I don't get paid from there either yet, you can definitely hop on Patreon and support me that way. That way you will have access to the workshops. I will be putting out polls as to what workshops you would like to see. And once I reach a certain amount of patronage on Patreon, then I will be able to make those workshops available to everyone online. So that's how I'm going to be running things from now on, just so you know. And I know a few of you are overseas or across the state or whatever who are on right now. And so if that's something you'd like to see, I would greatly appreciate your support in that way so that we can make this happen. Anyways, that's about it. Otherwise, you guys who are here in Grand Rapids, hope to see you tonight. Much love.